NMU Food Recovery Network making impact, and War Calm addresses illegal wildlife trade at NMU.
Later, McElgill will have your latest forecast, and Don Edwards talks sports. I'm Callie Hunter.
And I'm Kayla Rydell. Welcome to Public Eye News. The first official UP chapter of the Food Recovery Network has been established at Northern Michigan University. The Food Recovery Network is a nationwide student organization focused on donating recovered perishable food from on-campus dining facilities to people in need. November is Hunger Awareness Month, and some NMU students are doing their part as members of the Food Recovery Network have been saving about 30 pounds of food a week and donating it to the Warming Center in Marquette. The group saved about 1,000 pounds of food last year, and a study has found that students throw away an average of 500 pounds of food every day at the dining facilities. A Northern Michigan University professor recently published a book on illegal wildlife trade and will give a presentation on it. Professor Greg Warcall is a leading expert on the illegal wildlife trade and has published a book titled Exploiting the Wilderness and an Analysis on Wildlife Crime, where he addresses the criminal justice system and the international black market surrounding wildlife trade. The trade is fueled by the medicinal benefits, culinary value, aesthetic, and their status symbols. Wednesday, November 7th from 6 to 7:30 p.m., Warcall will give his presentation and display pictures from his research trip to Africa at the Lydia Olson Library.
The Real Youpers Wear Pink cancer fundraiser campaign ended today with $23,000 raised to go towards cancer research and awareness. The campaign, which is organized by the American Cancer Society, ran through the entire month of October. Numerous UP businesses contributed, with some businesses, such as the Wealth Strategy Group, donating upwards of $10,000. All $23,000 will go towards the American Cancer Society. Students from the Marquette Senior High School attended the North American International Cybersecurity Summit this past weekend in Detroit. The students competed against 200 other schools in the Governor's Challenge, where they ultimately took second place. Westwood High School and Delta Schoolcraft Intermediate School District were two other UP schools that placed in the top 10.
$25 million in state grants will be given to 114 public schools, 42 non-public schools, 22 public charter schools, and 10 intermediate school districts. The Michigan State Police announced that the grants will be to purchase equipment and technology to improve the safety and security of school buildings. Governor Rick Snyder has stated that the grants are part of a proactive approach to prevent attacks on schools and that the protection of our children is what they need and deserve. Recipients of the grants will have until the 30th of September 2019 to spend their awards. A full list of recipients can be found on the State of Michigan's website. There are over 300,000 unfilled cyber jobs around the country and around 7,000 in Michigan that may soon be filled. A new cybersecurity training hub has been established at Northern Michigan University to accelerate talent development for the high-demand cybersecurity growing industry. This will create jobs in the Upper Peninsula and make residents and businesses safer online. NMU is partnering with other colleges, school districts, and universities to develop the program and implement it in both secondary and post-secondary education. After the break, we'll be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
Coming up this week on High School Bowl, it is our 41st season premiere, and to kick off the year, we have a couple of great and intense rivalry matches. In our first game, the Negaunee Miners go up against the Ishpeming Hematites. Hi, I'm Jim Koski, and then in our second game, it's a Copper Country rivalry as the Dollar Bay Blue Bolts go up against the Lake Linden Hubble Lakes. That's coming up this week on the season premiere of High School Bowl.
The Food and Drug Administration has recently labeled MDMA, also known as ecstasy, as a potential breakthrough for the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. The FDA has cleared late-stage studies of the drug on nearly 300 patients. The studies will be conducted by a nonprofit called Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, a group owned by a man named Rick Doblin. Doblin has been trying to get drugs like MDMA and LSD recognized as a way to help people heal, quote, their inner demons, end quote. MDMA is currently a Schedule I drug, but Doblin says his goal is to get the drug approved for prescription use by 2021. New York police are investigating a deepening mystery surrounding the suspicious deaths of two Saudi Arabian sisters. The bodies of 16-year-old Tala and 23-year-old Rotana Faria were discovered bound together last week. The sisters lived in Northern Virginia. Jerica Duncan has the latest on the investigation from New York.
It's scary. This is supposed to be the good neighborhood where you should feel safe.
The lifeless bodies of Tala and Rotana Faria were found on a rocky pier in New York City last Wednesday. Police say the sisters were bound together at their ankles and waist with duct tape.
We are out to get justice for those two girls and to find out exactly what happened, what led them to be recovered in the water.
The NYPD does not yet know if this is a homicide or suicide. They're also having a tough time tracking where the sisters were in the weeks leading up to their deaths. No cell phones or social media accounts were recovered.
Detectives have been down in Virginia. They've conducted a number of interviews in Virginia, including members of the immediate family, as well as others.
Tala and Rotana moved to the U.S. from Saudi Arabia with their mother in 2015, settling in Fairfax, Virginia. An NYPD source tells CBS News that their mother told police she received a call from the Saudi government in October telling the family they had to come back to Saudi Arabia because the sisters had applied for immigration asylum in the U.S. In a statement, the Saudi Consulate General said it will follow the case closely and that the sisters were students accompanying their brother in Washington. CBS News has learned that there's evidence that shows the sisters were alive when they entered the water. Investigators are now hoping to learn the cause of death once the toxicology reports are released. Jerica Duncan, CBS News, New York.
Sign up for consumers to get health insurance under the Affordable Care Act started slowly Thursday when the federal website became up and running days before the midterm elections. During the early morning of the site being up, people were unable to sign up as they were directed to a screen that said work was underway, and similar messages appeared for some that called the healthcare.gov call center. Around 9 a.m., things turned around and everything was running normally. One of the big issues debated in the midterms is healthcare, with many having cited the 2013 healthcare meltdown leading to the loss of control in the Senate for the Democrats. Many will be watching the website closely and making predictions over the next several days. NMU's politics and media class has put together an ongoing discussion covering the election process and why you should get out and vote. In today's segment, Callista Opsahl talks with Dr. William Ball on immigrants and the election.
Good afternoon. My name is Callista Opsahl, and I am here with Dr. William Ball, who's a political science professor at NMU. And today we're going to discuss the topic of immigration. In regards to immigration, who can and cannot vote?
Well, you've got to be a citizen, number one. Since 1996, there's a federal law that prohibited non-citizens from voting in federal elections. And if they do, they're subject to fines, imprisonment, deportation. Federal law doesn't prohibit them from voting in state elections, but no state has allowed that since 1926, when Arkansas ended that practice.
So those who are eligible to vote, how do they impact the elections?
Historically, naturalized citizens voted about the same way as native-born Americans. Roughly this, they were pretty much, they looked like us, they talked like us, they were the same race, same ethnicity, same party, same ideology. But since the 1990s, the foreign-born citizen population has become overwhelmingly non-white. They're from Latin America, from Asia, Pacific Islands, descent. So now more of the immigrant voters are voting for Democrat Party instead of Republicans, much more so than before.
So do immigrants vote at higher rates than natural-born citizens?
Well, it depends on compared to what. Naturalized Hispanic voters do vote at a higher rate than native-born Hispanic voters, at 53.4 to 45.5. But it's still less than the U.S. average of 62.1 for U.S.-born voters. So overall, there are 26.7 million eligible Latino voters in 2016, but only 12.7 voted.
Thank you, Dr. Ball, for your input. This was Poli-Sci on the Fly. Go out and vote November 6th.
And after the break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
the stars, see you're beautiful. The stars are we're beautiful.
Saturday night at 11 on Public TV 13.
Around the UP we have, tonight's going to be cloudy, 41 degrees, north wind at 7 miles per hour. The pressure is 29.95 degrees in the fall. Tonight is going to be cloudy still, temperature 41 degrees, winds north at 7 miles per hour, 29 degrees, 0.95 in the bottom. Okay, tonight it's going to be cloudy, tomorrow 39 degrees, winds at northeast at 6 miles an hour, staying with cloudy conditions. Taking a look around the UP, over in Sault Ste. Marie we're at 45 degrees, Manistee is 42 degrees, Escanaba is 45 degrees, the only sunny side is about 44 degrees down in Menominee. Iron Mountain is 42 degrees and partly sunny. Ironwood is 43 degrees and cloudy. Poland is 43 degrees, cloudy. And back to Marquette, even Woods cloudy is 41 degrees. Taking a look at the upcoming weather, we have Saturday is going to be a high of 40, low of 33 degrees, partly cloudy. Sunny is 44. And 42 degrees is the low. That's our rainy day. Monday, it's going to be 46 degrees and as a high, and 38 degrees is low. It's also going to be cloudy. Looks like we're having some unseasonable weather around the 50-degree mark. It's nice to have.
Speaking of 50, former NBA MVP Derrick Rose exploded against the Utah Jazz yesterday. In spectacular fashion, the Timberwolves point guard dropped a career-high 50 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists as the Timberwolves routed the Jazz 128-125. It was Rose's first 40-plus point performance in 7 years. And in NMU sporting news, 2 NMU women's soccer players have been named to All-GLIAC teams. Freshman forward Caroline Hallinan was named second-team All-GLIAC, while junior defender Galen Harabayashi was named honorable mention. Hallinan led the Wildcats in goals, assists, and points, while Harabayashi helped to anchor the Wildcat defense. And in a surprising move, the Detroit Lions have traded Pro Bowl wide receiver Golden Tate to the Philadelphia Eagles for a third-round draft pick. Tate, who just turned 30 this year, was into his last year of his contract with the Lions and was hopeful for an extension. Tate made the Pro Bowl in 2014 with the Lions and is coming off a 1,000-yard receiving season last year. Kelly, I hear you have a good story to tell.
I do, Donnie. It's a story. So a Piedmont Airlines baggage handler fell asleep in the cargo hold of a Boeing 737 Saturday in Kansas City and woke up in Chicago. The handler told police he was intoxicated when he had fallen asleep, and he was discovered in the hold after the plane landed in Chicago. Luckily, the hold was pressurized and heated, so the handler was not injured. No charges were filed against the man, and he was promptly sent back to Kansas City.
And that's all the time we have for you today. Until next time.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.